Racing isn't the only thing on my mind. And with GoDaddy, I'm making my ideas real.
We've been muted the whole time. Hello again.
Alright, we're going to try that one again. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is Crypto Nikolai. I'm joined here with Crypto Nick on our
I'm not
weekly.
Crypto Nick. I'm Crypto J.
I'm sorry. I'm getting confused here. Crypto Nick is on the mind. We are just having all kinds of technical issues here, but I think now we are good. The audio does seem like it's coming in. So welcome to our weekly stream where there has been quite a lot of things happening in the crypto space. You know, from everything from news, we had some big posts about that Vitalik Buterin had about kind of the future of Ethereum and blockchain tech. We had some interesting movements on the Coinbase 5, and well, we have some green and some red mixed in our weekly viewing here on Coin360.io. So we can see here basically overall Bitcoin Ether holding steady. We saw last week Bitcoin did move, you know, had previously hit up into the 8200 range there, but now is you know, you're good, is looking at you know, 7500, and you know, it's moving around a little bit, 7300 on trading on Binance right now, so definitely getting some good movement there. We saw Ether kind of hold steady, drop down a little bit under 400, and get as high as 420, YOLO. So, you know, basically it has had ups and downs. Good for swing traders.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. The volatility is ripe for some good day trading. That's for sure.
Absolutely. There was a bit of a glitch earlier on. If you were tuning into the global, the total market cap of cryptocurrency, you may have seen a little bit of a glitch. We believe it was kind of a data glitch there.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there.
Yeah, it was a temporary thing. There was a big spike in volume. You know, a $50 billion spike in volume, just up and down, just, you know, literally within a matter of minutes there. And I have to say that now that we can't see, you don't see any kind of real big spike here. We're talking about, again, a $50 to $80 billion spike in market cap, so it's just not. It was just a glitch, but it was right here at the. It was right here at the you know, tail end of our chart. So. You know, looks like it was a glitch, but overall we can see the market cap is staying relatively steady. Over the past 7 days, you know, slight dip down, and that's going to be caused basically by mostly, I would say, from the Bitcoin price dropping from about 8,200, 8,300 down to where it is now, around in the mid sevens. So that's going to account for most of that loss. But we also did see some losses in alts across the board, and the Bitcoin dominance is actually up is over 49%. So if we take a look at the weekly Bitcoin dominance here, as soon as my happy chart loads, there we go. So we see just in the past 7 days, if we kind of, you know, zoom out a little bit. Now we do have a lot of these smaller coins here that I'm just not going to, you know, include, because truthfully, these are not, you know, significant players in the space. No. But we do have, you know, some of these others. So Bitcoin maintaining a solid 49.1% market cap. Do you think that Bitcoin is still the cryptocurrency in the space?
Yeah, I mean, the dominance figures speaks for itself. I mean, if you look at this is what...
this was over the past week.
Over the past week? I mean, you see just parallel movement, not a whole lot of fluctuation. Yeah. For the time being, I mean, the dominance is going to be here to stay for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's going to be some, you know, some variation here or there. But for the most part, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, what we're also seeing too is that really, I think the bears have lost their teeth in a way. I mean, we've kind of gotten to the point where, we're holding steady at different price points. I mean, Ether bouncing back to stay above 400 really
was impressive.
Kind of was reassuring to me.
Yeah.
Bitcoin maintaining and not dying down to the 6,800 bracket, which is where we've traditionally seen some support in the past. So ultimately, although we aren't above the 8K anymore, we are holding steady. And what that says is that, there's enough buy orders to kind of propel the price above that 6,800 level. And there's enough volume. I mean, even with the, down from the peaks, obviously, of earlier this year, but $4.5 billion volume, you really can't shake a stick at that.
No, not at all. And, Ethereum, hanging in a solid second, 1.7 billion. Nice and solid, nice and healthy.
Yeah.
1.16 up on the day, so not too bad.
Yeah. We do see an increased investment into Tether, and so what that says to me is that people are not fully abandoning the crypto space, but they're worried about maybe the volatility. Moving from Bitcoin to Tether, if you moved, just for example, if you moved from Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was at 8,000, we're going to use some round numbers here. So Bitcoin's at 8,000, you own some Bitcoin, then you move it into Tether. How do you do that? You go onto an exchange like Binance, you find the trading pair between Bitcoin and Tether. It's there, it's common, it's very frequently used, and you just move into Tether. Now, as the Bitcoin price goes down, all you need to do is just buy back in. So you buy back in at a lower price point, and what that does is it kind of lowers your cost average a little bit, and so you buy in at, say, 7,500, and now you can buy in so much more than you could before.
Because now your USDT carries much more buying power when Bitcoin's in a dip. So yeah, great stuff. And Tether isn't only limited to Bitcoin. I mean, there's tons of trading pairs on the Tether binary. So
absolutely. I mean, you can tether up your Ether funding. You can, I believe,
EOS,
Ripple,
Litecoin,
a lot of the big ones are available there
Bcash,
as well.
Yeah. So
yeah. Now, just to illustrate this, so let's say you had $1,000, and you bought Bitcoin when it was, let's say you bought low, sold high, and then bought low again. So you bought in $1,000 at $7,500 per. It's 13.3 million satoshis. Okay, so now when we have 13 million satoshis times 8,000, then your $1,000 actually is now worth 1,066.
Yeah.
Okay, so you trade back into Tether. Now, obviously, we're simplifying in terms of fees and the exact numbers that you get in and get out.
This is just a very broad overload.
So now you have 1,066. You sold off at 8,000. And then you decide to buy back in at 7,500. Okay, this is we've seen within the past week this movement. So this is not something you have to wait a long time.
This is not something that's out of the ordinary at this point in time.
Yeah. So you take your 1,066, and so you take your 1,066, and you go into Bitcoin at 7,500. So you had 13 million satoshis. Now you're up to 14.2.
Yep.
And so then if it moves back up to 8K, so then you decide to sell out at 8K again because the volatility is just moving back and forth. And your original $1,000, which
turned into 1137.
Now that's a 13% gain.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
So we saw in the past week Bitcoin touched 8K and 7,500.
Oh yeah. The volatility is definitely there to do some solid swing trades on Bitcoin USDT. We did some last night and walked away with some decent profits.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a time and a place. Again, the more purchasing power you have, obviously, the more you're going to make. But the percentages speak for themselves.
Yeah.
When we look at this instance, $1,000, people moving in and moving out. Now, the key to day trading, I would say, is timing your entry and exit.
Absolutely. Timing is 100% essential.
Now, is it true that if you mistime your entry or your exit, you can actually lose money on the trade?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a question. Absolutely. Ran into a situation last night. I was, believe it or not, trading on Ripple for whatever reason. It was in a nice dip, so I figured
it's a top
hey,
3 coin, you know.
Yeah, it was in a dip, so what does any smart trader do? Buy the dip.
Yep.
But I just timed my entry wrong, and what usually happens to me or as well as any other trader, the Korea FUD got loaded, and as soon as my entry was filled, it just dumped out on me, and as soon as I sold it, it reversed and went back up. So I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, can't catch a break. So for the time being, I've decided not to do any more trading at night because I tend to make really bad decisions.
Well, here's the thing about trading, and what we want to do is make it so that the process is demystified for a lot of people. What helps you time your entry? What helps you time your exit? Well, we have a couple indicators we're going to show you today that will really help with that. And so, normally we talk a little bit about the news, but let's just take a look here real quick just as an educational point for people. So this is the Bitcoin USDT trading pair. We were just talking about it. And if I scale back here to 1-day candles, we can see here that just over the past week, so right to about here, we've got about 7 candles here. Bitcoin moved from the bottom of that candle was 78.08, made it all the way up to about 8,200, and then is down trading at around 7,400 now. So, that's the kind of volatility we're talking about. This chart, again, these are day candles, so
this is
there's a lot of movement.
April.
There's a lot of movement. Yeah, goes all the way back to April 20th back here. So so if we dial it back, even just smaller candles, you can still see that volatility. So even at 1-hour candles, you can see this dip again. This particular example, we've got it at 8,200, dips all the way down to 78, and then is back up to 80, almost to fully at 8, and in fact, it actually gets up to about 8,200 right there.
All within a few hours.
So yeah, these are 1-hour candles. So now we're talking within the same day being able to make that swing trade, and that's what the day traders are looking for. They're looking for these swing trades where they find the dip. Now, how are we going to locate the dip? Well, I'm going to give you a couple ways. Number one, MACD. Okay, MACD. Stands for moving average, convergence, and divergence. And what happens is on the MACD, it tracks the difference between the moving average, and it has actually multiple moving averages here.
Yeah.
And so those are 12, 26, and 9.
Always the default.
And we don't recommend necessarily messing with any of those settings right off the bat. This is a good indicator, just standard with Binance. Now keep in mind that all the tools that we have that we're going to show you here on the stream, these are all tools that you have access to just by going online. You just may not be aware that they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody has access to these. There's not some secret code that you need. There's not some, combination lock that you got to figure out to get to it. I mean, really, on Binance, the only thing you need to do is switch over to your advanced view, and all of your indicators that are most commonly used are going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So again, to get there, we're on our Binance page. We're greeted by this initial nice foray. Keep in mind, these are not organized by change in price or by overall value, but by volume. And so what that does for you is it tells you what coins are people trading on, where's the action. So if we look back at Bitcoin, and I'm going to go back to our, now when I click on this initially, it usually takes us to the basic. To get to the advanced, you're going to want to go up here to where it says exchange at the top, go down to advanced.
And advanced. Yep.
All right, so here we are. Now, MACD, again, convergence, divergence for the moving average. If the moving average is a flat line, your standard coins or stocks or anything, financial institutes are just going to move up and down along that line. So that's what MACD is measuring.
Yeah.
So if you look here, I'm going to use this, let's look at this recent dip right here. So if you look down here at the MACD, so what this line underneath, so we're ignoring the price graph right now. All we're doing is looking at this. So based off this, what this means is at any time that there are green candles here, that means it is actually above. It's above that moving average. So you generally see positive movement in the price.
Mm-hmm.
I say generally because not always. For example,
yeah.
if we look right here between this whole stretch of about half a day to a day, really just sideways movement. But interspersed in those were periods of higher than average buying. And so we saw here, that's what these little green candles are. Now, what you want to look for, this is getting a little bit deep into it,
yeah.
but what you want to look for is the changing rate. So just because it's green, like for example, I'm going to highlight this candle right here. Notice that this candle that I'm showing right here, it actually is green on the MACD, but it's a big old red candle right there. So what that says to me is that this was on, and I can confirm by looking at the rate of change here, that it's actually sloping negative. So even though your MACD is spitting out these green bars here, if the height of the bar starts to become less tall, then that's a situation where you actually have a sell-off.
Yeah, and that's going to be a good time to start timing your exit.
Yeah, ideally, if you see the height of your greens go down or the depth of your reds change, conversely, that's when you buy.
Yeah, that's going to determine where a good, solid entry and or exit will be.
Yeah. So we have here a lot of sideways movement again. I mean, yes, here we see a little bit of positive growth, so I'm going to indicate, if you can just look carefully, you see how these lines, these 4 lines right here indicate, that there's some positive growth because the green line is taller than the preceding one.
Yes.
Now, what that says to me is that right here, this is the time to sell. Right here. Anytime you get 2 blocks that are similar height like that, that means there's some resistance there. Yeah, it's probably peaked, and that's what we see actually if you look carefully. There's 2 candles there.
Yep.
So that's where it peaked right there. So that's an exit point right there.
Yeah, solid exit.
And so you get out there, you let it drift down, you let it drift down. Now, this is where we look at the other side of things and we get the, now we look at the dips, okay? So, all right. Sorry about that. So, if we look at the same case, timing your entry, timing your exit. So, that's kind of your exit, right? So we started a little bit backwards. What we have here is, timing your exit. So you're already in there. What are you looking for? This is what you're looking for. You're looking for that flat, run, and just get out. Now, how do you time your entry? Again, that's really the most important point. I would say the exits to the entries because that determines if and how much money you make.
Yeah.
So, again, we're looking for the same thing. We're looking for the height of the negative blocks to be the same, just like we saw over here at the peak. We're basically looking for the trough. So here we see a nice bottom here on these red indicators. Now, I will tell you from personal experience, buying when it is like this is nerve-wracking.
It is. It really, really is.
Because what you've seen is over the past couple hours, massive dumps. I mean, everyone's selling, but the rate of selling is slowing down. That's why the block here isn't as high. I say block, it's more of a bar, but so once that's stabilized, then you time your entry. So you get in, it's whatever. You have a couple options in terms of your order book. You can go with a sale that's already there. So if I wanted to get in, let's see, looking right now, this is not looking like an advantageous spot to get in because we're really kind of downward sloping on our greens. We may actually have a negative correction here. So let's see if I can dial into the 1 minutes. So now the thing about crypto, remember that, as you zoom out in terms of time, your candles can have a lot of movement in them and they may not, always line up exactly with the flow here, but if we zoom down into the 1 minute, we can really see where, there's a nice little pump here. I mean, again, bottom red candle is the dip. So here's the dip and had a nice run to about here. Now I'm not even looking at the price when I say a run, but let's confirm if that's the case. So I look up here and yeah, the price was there.
Run confirmed.
So, this process is very good for identifying, good entry and exit points. And that's going to be a big player in terms of how you are able to swing this around. Again, using our example of the $1,000, we would be using this along with some other things. We can talk about those as well. But basically we got the Bollinger Bands here showing you overbought, oversold.
Yes.
Those kind of things.
The top bar being the overbuy line, the bottom bar meaning that it's becoming oversold. So as we can see on this chart right here, as of about 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 1700, probably even a little before, about 1645, was kind of the beginning of a nice little trough and then upswing where it's kind of riding the overbuy line. Now, what that says to me is the longer that the candles are riding the overbuy line, that could trigger a sell-off soon, as told by kind of what we're seeing now. Lots of red coming out of the books. But for the most part, it's still pushing forward.
Yeah.
So, who knows how long that's going to ride the overbuy line before it decides to correct. Usually it lasts about 15, 20 minutes before a correction starts, to the point, as far as like swing trading goes. About 20 minutes is like your good window. As you can see from here, from like 1557 to about 1621.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's about 30 minutes in that case.
Yeah, so 30-minute, time where overall movement
and it's going
was
to feel like days.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the fun / fear, kind of kicks in.
It's totally real, man. Like those, the few trades that I made last night between BTC and USDT, I was in and out of those trades in a matter of minutes, but those minutes felt like hours.
Yeah.
And it gets nerve-wracking, and it'll definitely test the strength of your hands.
All right. So when we talk about strong hands versus weak hands, and that's a very common expression within the crypto world. So
that's psychology.
So someone with strong hands is able to buy in and weather the emotional storm of this fluctuating price. Just hold those bags. But as we've seen, the whole hold until you die strategy of HODL,
it can get you in trouble.
Is a potentially a way to lose a lot of sats. I mean, on a downward slope, if you sell within the first 10% of the downward slope and then it rides down, you just conserved all of that.
Yeah, and now you have to ride that back up.
You mean you buy in at the bottom and then
Yeah.
So and plus by selling more quickly. Now the issue with selling in and out is that you have to make sure that you're covering things like fees and stuff like that, because if you just move in and out all day, each time if you sell at the exact same price that you buy in at, you'll end up with a slightly smaller stack of coins because you're going to have fees and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, there's plenty of volatile coins out there, even ones that really not moving too much here. So really only a 50 sat gap here between top and low, but you can even see the nice pumps illustrated here on our MACD.
Yep.
Just beautiful illustration of when to get in and how to run. So you want a quick 50 sats per coin. Again, it doesn't sound like that much when you think about satoshis, but
when you got like 1,000 or 10,000 of them.
Yeah. So I mean some of these orders here. So this is 5% of a Bitcoin for for 2,200. So if I had half a Bitcoin and put it in here, that'd be 22,000. And at 22,000 with a 50 swing, I mean, check my math here, but I believe that's going to be a nice healthy profit. So 50 times, what did I say, 22,000? Yeah, so you need a nice million sats. So anyway, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for timing entries and exits, and that's how you successfully day trade. Now, there are situations that are kind of unique in crypto because of the high volume and, the volatility there. There are situations where the price can just get away from you.
Yeah. Sometimes, you get into a bit of a zone where profits are looking good, and you want to try to just squeeze out that extra little bit of profit, and you get greedy, which I've been known to do. But
I want to say that happened to you here on CVC, but
it did.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was Civic because it was just listed on Binance when we were trading on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ultimately, I got greedy and I tried to hold out for maximum profits, and the top got away from me,
Mm-hmm.
and it just got to a point to where I sold for a lot less than what I could have made.
Yeah.
So that was really poor timing on my part. The technicals all looked relatively good, but I guess I just didn't play the order book as well as I could have, which is another big thing that has to be looked at when it comes to timing your entries and exits, because in the buy book, when you have a big order, it creates a buy wall, and that means price is going to kind of hover around that until that buy order gets eaten up.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, when you have a big order in the sell book, that creates a wall that the price is just going to run into, and it's going to have a really, really hard time punching through that wall if the volume's not there.
Yeah.
So the odds of going past that price point become very, very slim in that window of trading.
Yeah.
That's a nice looking chart.
This is making me happy because all that extra ether I bought, I can dump into Sats for an extra, 100,000 per.
Hey, there you go, man.
So this is kind of illustrating what you were talking about with the books, actually, which is what I wanted to kind of show. So if we look here, the order books, there's a substantial amount of buy orders in here. Okay, so if we look at this graphically, we can see how there's rising, basically each vertical line indicates kind of the strength of the buy order. So sometimes these are small, like this one right here, this one right here. Sometimes they're very large. And, if you see a situation where it's very flat or there's nothing there, that indicates that there's a gap. So right now, it's not a big gap. It's only, basically to the 100,000s, 10,000s place. In terms of gaps, are really not that big of a move. But if we look deeper into the buy order book here, so this is what some people will try to do when they're gauging when and how to get into the market. So we talked about the fundamentals of the moving average, of the MACD there, and also of checking, just deep onto the Bollinger Bands to see if it's overbought and oversold. And we'll, of course, continue to refresh those over time. But the order book is your friend as well, because the order book, to me, is a snapshot of what people think about the coin.
Yeah.
So you can look at it. You can look at this and say, all right, so this guy right here. So although I can't say for certain that these are single people, it's at least one person, maybe multiple people who have put in their stake to buy, 23 Ether.
At 1.34?
Yeah, for a total of 1.34 Bitcoin. So what that says to me is that there's, it's either one big buyer or several smaller buyers just conglomerated, and so basically they're here. So if I was going to time my entry, I would look at this, I would check the fundamentals, and say, this is a little overbought right now. Maybe I'll see how it goes. But ultimately, you can see that this chart has been riding, very positively. And one big thing that I'd like to stress here is that these Bollinger Bands are not hard limits. They are just mathematical probabilities. Essentially, it's 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So, there are going to be outliers, but generally speaking, the coins trade within 2 standard deviations away from that center line. However, there are cases where extreme volume can punch through that. So, like, this is a good indication right here. So we had a big sell-off, and we went from about 5.5 million Satoshis per Ether down to, here was, is also 5.5, but this was 5.59, and this is 5.51. So, 800,000 Satoshis worth. 80,000 Satoshis worth. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because 5 million 500,000, and then
Yeah.
995. Yeah. So basically, that difference there. In the grand scheme of things, though, really, I mean, unless you're moving a lot of ether at once, like, you're just not going to make that much.
Right.
Which makes, I mean, keep in mind those are 15-minute candles. So if we look at this and we say, volatility-wise, even over a longer time frame, if I can use days, wow.
That's beautiful.
That is something else. 8.5 million ether back in May.
Mm-hmm.
And then just slow, steady decline since then. But the bear market may be over.
Here's hoping.
Look at that one little green candle right there.
Yep.
if we use our MACD analysis,
that's a good time to buy.
This is a great time to buy. Positive confirmation.
And
it's
getting to the point to where it's becoming oversold. It's riding that bottom Bollinger Band, meaning that a correction could be due.
Yeah.
A nice little upswing, which is what I would like to see.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on, we can speculate about that. Obviously, one green candle does not a trend make. So if we look here, one little red candle here on the MACD, that's really not doing much. Two small green ones, really not
outliers.
Yeah, they're really just not. It's steady price, and we see that reflected up here. So these are just some good tools you can use. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us and chat.
We would love to help you.
We can help you get set up with more specific questions. If you're looking at specific charts, we can assist you with that.
And also, we do have our resident TA guru, Decrypto. He's basically the guy that he prepares our charts for us and gives us talking points on more of an in-depth level.
Yeah.
For the more advanced traders who might trade with indicators that your everyday trader might not use.
Right.
And the information that he provides is more on the long term or the longish term, as opposed to what we typically do as day traders.
Right.
Also, like what I was getting to is if you have any questions, we'd be more than glad to forward those to him. And I know he would love to help anybody out especially with learning this kind of stuff, because it can get tricky.
Yeah.
Especially with these advanced indicators.
Yep, it can. But the good news is that there are people like us who are willing to just test out and figure it out on our own.
We'll guinea pig the shit out of it.
So, again, this information is all in our Discord. So, if you want to reach out to us in chat, towards the end of the broadcast, we'll put out some invites there that people can get in. And, if you want to join in, by all means, we're going to have a link to that eventually set up on our Twitch homepage. But for now, we'll just put it in chat. Yeah. So looking at, this is actually the BAT-USD chart. So this is basic attention token, one of the tokens that we have
Coinbase 5.
We have been following because it may end up being offered on Coinbase. And I cannot tell you, if you are unfamiliar with Coinbase, Coinbase is designed for folks to get into crypto. And you can buy in. You just load in your debit card. You load in your bank account information. You can do ACH or a direct card. One has a little bit higher fees, but
And if I'm not mistaken, they're also planning on introducing gift cards soon.
Oh well, what business wouldn't be complete without gift cards?
Yeah, absolutely. Birthdays, Christmas, Father's Day, Mother's Day.
It's pure margin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pure margin. So, all right. Looking at this, we have seen the BT has been bullish, although looking at our kind of weekly, it is down about 450 sats. So let's go ahead and see here. We do see some analysis here showing potentially positive trend. So, and what he did to find this, he took all the dips
and created a trend line
and tried to create a trend line. So if the dips are all the same, then we would say that the coin's not really going anywhere. But because these dips are ending up slightly higher, we're bullish.
Yeah, just because it dipped doesn't mean that's necessarily a low. Because as you can see in this chart, the dips end up getting higher and higher and higher, which to me indicates, bullishness.
That's right. That's right. So we got those. Let's take a look at the Ether signals here. Again, Ether BTC. So interesting that this is very predictive almost, because
It is.
we started to look at it and say that now this is over a long time. This has got to be over a long time. Yeah, here we go. So this is back in May. This is when that peaked at about 8.5 million satoshis per Ether.
Juicy.
Very. And now we're seeing kind of that trend back down to where we are kind of this week. However, I would say that look at these two lines versus this is about as low as it's gotten.
Yeah.
So what we can say based off that is that it's a good dip to buy. It probably has some room to run.
Yeah, and based on its past performance, where it did reach that first line of support and how much it grew after that, to me that could indicate, hopefully that kind of growth will be replicated. That doesn't necessarily mean it will be, but
True.
It gives you some sort of idea of what it could do.
And again, these kind of charts are going to help identify trends, and those trends can be used to determine, overall bullishness if you want to buy a coin, and then use our MACD and use our Bollinger Bands analysis to pick your entry point to maximize that profit.
Yes.
So looking here, we have Ether USD. And so it has been, let's see, looking back to late June, actually Ether spiked all the way up to 540. So trade idea here, buy Ether under 420, YOLO. Target 1, 427, target 2, 445, target 3, 520. So these targets are basically done by looking at the previous kind of settling areas that are done. It's not a guarantee.
No, it's not bulletproof. No.
By any means. Now, what this also can say, there's different support lines here. So you see this basically support area here that was found right at, let's see, that is going to be quite low. That's going to be right in the 415 area. And then that was found. Now we did actually dip. So if we were to kind of extend this chart out, we saw already that Ether has moved successfully over to to back. Let's see. Let's go to the USD chart. Yeah. So it's back to 417, but it even dipped. It dipped quite low.
Yeah.
Quite low. And these are days. Hold on. Let's see here. Wow. I thought it was more recently than that, maybe. So a few days ago. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
So that was... Okay, so that was yesterday. All right, so on the 15-minute candles here, we do see that it actually dipped down to 396.
Yeah.
However, quite a bull run.
Yes. Beautiful bull run.
So
nice sustained growth.
Yep, nice $20 there.
It managed to ride, a full day along the overbuy line on the MACD.
Yeah.
And still managed not to be totally overbought.
Yeah.
That is like that is perfect harmony right there.
There's definitely some sell-off, so we see where it crossed over.
Yeah.
There was a corresponding sell-off.
Inevitably, there's going to be, a trend of selling off.
Yeah.
But for the most part, 99% of this, it rode, the average and the overbuy line beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And I think that's why people are so bullish here. If we take a look back at the Ether Bitcoin chart, people are bullish because, Ether's gaining value, and, there's a lot of other reasons why people are bullish about Ethereum, and we'll kind of get into those too. Most notably, I would say Vitalik Buterin, who, to me, has single-handedly won me over. I mean, this guy, if you listen to him speak at conferences, now we don't have any of that footage here on this stream today, but we do have some of the points he has brought up on previous conferences that we'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
Basically, Vitalik went through and asked questions of the community, and he said, these are questions that we need to answer if we're going to, to progress. So we're going to get to those. I do want to do a quick market summary here. So trending changes for the Coinbase 5. So we saw, again, talking about the Coinbase 5, these are coins that we believe and have been indicated by Coinbase that may be added soon.
They have an interest in adding.
Yes, they're looking into these 5 coins along with Ether Classic. We said today.
Ether Classic was formally announced that it was going to be added to Coinbase.
Yep.
But there is a little bit of difficulty in getting that added to it because it runs on a different set of protocols.
Yeah.
But all in good time, it'll be there.
Okay, so the 2-hour candles is roughly a week chart. So if we look at the week, we see about a 500, 400, 450 sat change, depending on kind of where your top is here. But change for ADA. So we talked about that. Let's take a look at XLM, which has had in my mind, had some nice pumps. Last month was definitely a good month for it. You can see it pumps hard up here to 42, 44, but then in general, just weekly decline. I would attribute this to just normal sell-off after a big pump like that. I mean, people are kind of just hanging out. A nice pump here, actually. So again, using our MACD analysis, you can kind of see again where the entry point is on these various pumps. So any of these buy-in spots here would be fine. So that's a situation where you have like multiple lines that are the same height. Any of those would work just fine. So again, looking here, nice buy-in. That would have yielded a 350, 350 sat.
Yeah,
jump rate right here.
It's good too. I like the way that these candles are arranged along the oversell line on the Bollinger Bands, because it's nice and smooth and it's a gradual dip, which to me doesn't indicate a string of panic sells.
That's right.
That to me is a classic through and through correction. What goes up must come down.
That's right.
It's just physics.
Yep.
And this followed the laws of physics, quite beautifully.
Yep.
OZ Cash.
So again,
a lot of volatility there.
Looking on the week, you can really see the volatility. I mean, again, using our MACD analysis here, you really want to start getting out before this starts dumping.
Yeah.
At this point, looking at this chart, but really, very hard to identify the peaks. I mean, these are very spiky. I mean, it's partially because of a 2-hour candle, so that's going to be a lot of volatility there.
It's going to reflect a lot.
Yeah, it's harder to see, but this is just for the week snapshot. The wicks here are actually going up to 2.8 million satoshis. So 2.8 million satoshis all the way down to 2.5. I mean, that's a pretty big swing. So definitely some big changes there. Did I misconstrue that? So that would be 300,000 satoshi loss, not 3,000. Yikes.
That's a big difference.
So ZRX, which has been a
tons of volatility,
favorite of mine for the day trading, just for that opportunity. And here we can see a nice pump.
Yes, bouncing off the oversell.
Yep. So right here, this is the dream. This is the dream. Now, again, it's a gut check. Maybe even a nut check if you if you want, but ovary check. But
we're not sexist.
Yeah. So basically, if you look here, I mean, this is a dangerous looking time to buy, right? I mean, look at the dipping down.
There's those first two candles indicating that dip on the MACD crossover. Considering how steep those candles are, there was probably some degree of panic selling here. Followed by a very brief moment of stability, followed again by more panic selling.
Yeah, and again, we are not, wizards. We can't tell what's going to happen in the next few minutes, but we can give you advice.
We can sort of give you an idea.
Historically, what to look for. So again, these crossovers, we see the crossover of the moving average, and I want to say a trend line. I'm not sure. Do you know what these two lines are here?
What, on the MACD? Well, one of them is going to be your moving average line. The other one is your signal line, or the relative strength index.
Oh, okay. So that's got to be the purple line then. All right. So purple is above the moving average here, indicating those. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So as you see the divergence between the moving average and this trend line here, what did you call it?
Signal line.
Signal line. Yeah. We do see. Oh, okay. So this is interesting. This is exactly what we're talking about. On this pump right here, all you see is just decrease, 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 increase, 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 increase. All those.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Now,
and now it's getting to a point to where it's plateauing.
As soon as you start to see that shorter not candle, but the shorter block there on the MACD indicator, that's your sign. Get out. Take your profit. You know, this is this at this point, this would be it's 11,000, almost 12,000 satoshis up to you know, pretty much anywhere, and here's 13,000. So that's a nice 1,000 satoshis per.
Mm-hmm. And some change.
I mean, again, you know, that's a way to swing trade and make some money. So even in a market where again, we talked about the Bitcoin price, you know, not necessarily always going up. We saw it come back from 8,200. It's floating around. It's been at 73. It's been 74, 75.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like even right here, we can see USDT, Bitcoin, and then look at that. So over the week, you know, 84, almost 8,500.
Yep.
It tested. That's $1,000 on Bitcoin right there, all the way down to where it is now.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, just looking at it, that is what we, you know, that's just one of the things we wanted to highlight here. Zcash, 0x, and Basic Attention Token. Now, Basic Attention is one that's interesting to me because Basic Attention did develop the Brave browser, which I have converted to. So this browser that you see here on the screen is not your traditional Chrome, but is instead the Brave browser, and it has some additional security, some crypto functionality built in.
Yep.
Looking
now,
at.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just kind of getting back to the chart here, really not nearly the highs and lows that we saw on some of the other coins here.
Yeah, that one. There was a lot of volatility. Like we talked about in our last stream on Basic Attention Token, I think a lot of that volatility is dissipated.
Yeah.
And we are returning to a point to where it's becoming more stable. Still going to be up and down corrections. That's natural.
Yeah.
But as far as day trading viability goes, I think it's kind of diminished for the most part.
Yeah.
But still, awesome project. I think it's going to do great things. Which brings me into just a quick question about the Coinbase 5 and what your thoughts are on who the strong contenders are.
Well, of the 5, I mean, Basic Attention Token
They have a product.
They have a product that people are using.
And it's the product has been shipped for quite a while, about a month or so now.
I switched to using it from Chrome. I feel like it's faster, it's more reliable, crashes less often, it's more stable. Overall, it has a lot of the extensions that frequent Chrome users, you know, will install, like AdBlock and some of these other things. They're just sort of built in natively. So really powerful.
And it's even it's compatible with MetaMask.
Yeah. So if I look and, you know, do like my homepage here. So beautiful. I have So this is a new tab, right? This is just native, just designed. It's really makes
really me
sleek.
feel like I'm on the pier in Corsica.
There you go, just hanging out in good old Corsica, and right off the coast of France there. But you know, all these information. I mean, think about it. Like we don't really quantify how much time a good browser will save you, but this one does. You know, estimated 5 minutes of time saved, which, again, not that much in terms of it. But if you think about closing ads and doing all that, just saving you that much, it adds up. So anyway, that's one of my votes. I mean, I feel good about that. I love 0x. I mean, I think that they have a great, you know, sense of really getting involved in decentralized exchanges. We kind of talked about the centralized versus decentralized exchange thing,
stream.
And we noted how, you know, in the past, Mt. Gox, you know, some of these other ones that have had major issues, major hacks, major loss of money, have really been damaging to crypto. But you know, we did mention how when I was trading on Hot, I went through the I believe the IDEX was the name of the exchange, the decentralized exchange, and you know, going through the process of uploading my wallet, you know, to them and using that to kind of like show who my account was rather than have an account on the page that could be hacked.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
No
very
personal details or anything.
Yeah, very interesting. And allows you to just anonymously transact on the exchange rather than the Binance version, which is having, you know, just having your own account and whatnot.
Yeah.
Either classic. Down. So anyway, this is the overall snapshot. we're going to keep showing this is available at coin360.io. It's free, to use, and you can get a quick look at what's up and what's down. VEN.
Shit in the bed. Looks like the mainnet launch did not go over very well.
Yeah, there was just a big sell-off when they transitioned over, and then everyone had the tokens, so they sold them off. It's kind of unfortunate. So interestingly, there was an issue about volume, and I wanted to look at this. There's 550 million of volume that's not being counted here from Bit4X. I wonder why. And same with Coinbean and Bene. Anyway, man, so many people trade Ether. Hot ETH. I saw that somewhere. Alright, well anyway, it's lots of trading pairs on Ether, but there was briefly a moment where the Ether volume surpassed the Bitcoin volume. This was on July 28th, so this past week. And
it was very, very momentary.
It was. It was a very short thing, and so people have gone in and asked, what happened? Where did this come from? And it turns out that the volume was spiked by a Ether USDT trading pair on Chinese exchanges. So we saw that, that there, for whatever reason, Chinese investors, I think there's some speculation that this is a way around some of the limitations of crypto buying in China, because there's lots of regulatory, the government is looking at it and saying, hey, we want our cut, we want to limit which exchange you can get on, and so this is kind of a way around that. The Chinese, no stranger to censorship, no stranger to government overreach. They basically live in a land of government overreach in some ways, not necessarily economic, but in some other ways.
That's as expected for a communist society. Communist government.
Even if they aren't the Soviet Union per se, they have a little bit more economic freedom. It still does not translate into political freedom, which translates to freedom of information and ideas. And if they can't get on some of these exchanges, that's just a pain. So what they've been doing is trading into USDT on some of these exchanges. I believe OB was one of them. And I'll have to check on some of the other ones, but definitely Bit4X as well. Big volume there.
Oh yeah.
Big volume.
$500 million.
Over 22%, or about roughly 22% there of the total volume. So that's
insane.
That's a huge. Absolutely.
21% down to 3% on Binance. That's quite dominant.
Bitcoin, I believe, is the same way. If you look at the different markets where that's offered,
people still shorting.
so very interesting to me here. BitMEX as a futures exchange.
Derivatives.
Where you can go and you can buy options to short or go long
short
on
contract,
Bitcoin.
long contract.
Now, options are something that we will be getting into more at a later stream. We don't have a lot dedicated to it now, but it is a fast-growing way that you can truly capitalize on the volatility of the market. However, keep in mind that with great rewards come great risks. So options can become useless, and therefore your money that you put in there, it's gone. And actually, what ends up happening is your long positions and your short positions are on either side of the price. And if the price goes one direction, then the people who lost
get
end
liquidated.
up. That's right. They get liquidated, and their money goes to.
I call it bit wrecked.
They get bit wrecked. That's right. So, getting back to it. So that was an interesting thing. It's indicative that it can happen that Ether has some big buyers out there.
Oh yeah. Ether is definitely here to stay. It's not dominant by any means. But as told by the numbers, the volume is there, and there's people that utilize it. There's people that trade it. And it's become a staple. That's the reason why it's the number 2. And the applications of Ethereum are virtually endless and has some huge advantages over Bitcoin. With smart contracts? The fact that Ether is marketed as a world computer is not really an exaggeration because of the fact that you have so much automated power available to your distributed applications on the Ethereum network that, we're talking about a system that allows you to, accomplish whatever transactional thing you want to accomplish automatically, safely, securely, for low fees, and almost instantaneously. So,
whatever you're doing, whether it's a bet, whether it's a buy, whether it's a transfer, whether it's a, sending a crypto kitty, whatever the case may be, you can do it quickly on the Ethereum network. And
the whole global computer, worldwide computer, if Ethereum does end up, switching over to a proof of stake, then it will quite literally be a gigantic computer where, tons of these machines and computers are, comprising the network.
Yeah. That makes me wonder, because it's true that Ethereum is looking to move to proof of stake rather than being proof of work. They've even said recently that they want to accelerate that process, and they're going to roll Casper into some other updates to kind of get all that rolling at the same time. My question is, how's that going to affect the miners? If it switches over from a proof of work to a proof of stake coin, are you still going to be able to mine it and you just get less? Are you still going to be able to mine it and you get the same amount? Are you not going to be able to mine it?
If they switch over to a 100% proof of stake system, Ethereum mining will be dead.
That's what I'm saying. So the
you
Ethereum
can still stake and claim rewards that way.
Right.
But as far as mining goes, that'll be done for.
Yeah, and we actually spoke today with a prominent local business here in the Athens area,
Absolutely.
Dodd Industries, and we met with the owner, Thomas Dodd, who walked us through kind of the setup he has. Very impressive setup that's actually primarily mining Ethereum.
Yeah, yep. He was kind enough to show us around his facility that he has here in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multi-purpose facility. He runs an online business out of it.
Yeah.
But he also has some space dedicated to mining racks where he's built GPU mining rigs. It was very, very interesting to see, a grassroots kind of guy. This isn't some guy that's got, institutional money or anything.
Mm.
He's just, your average, working class citizen who has, taken what he's got and turned it into, a quite, from what I understand, successful mining operation, and has even extended that mining operation into offering contracts.
That's right.
To people.
So you can rent out his space, his equipment there. He's got set up so he can build you a rig, customized to your needs and kind of your price point, and that'll allow you to generate, for now, primarily Ethereum, but possibly Ether Classic, possibly, you look at some other ones. He has transitioned away from Monero, so not so likely on that one due to the conflicts on the different cards.
Yeah.
Ether Classic has its own issues there, but some of the smaller coins definitely, more interesting. But I would say overall, I too was very impressed with the setup, and we will provide a link to his Facebook page as well. We'll send that out.
Yeah.
And give him a little shout out there, because ultimately, his products are great. They're stable. They work.
Yeah.
One of the big things that he's trial and error is how to get a stable system set up in terms of the cooling of it, in terms of the airflow, in terms of the power. He's getting negotiated.
Space requirements.
Space is a big one. So he has loads of that, and then he's got commercial power. So he makes as opposed to possibly mining from home, where you're just using your own residential, and you're getting charged 12 cents. He's down to 4. You know what I mean? So
the margin for profit is a lot better.
Absolutely. He does charge a maintenance fee per month to keep it up.
Rental fee,
yeah. And so, but if you invest in it and you build it and then you rent it, you're going to end up making money and generating full Ethereum over the
passively.
months. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the notes that I took about little bits of his operation. So, from what I understand, he has 6 dedicated clients that rent space on his rigs. And after he showed us that snapshot of where he stands in the pool hash rate power, he's in total, at least in that one room, the big server room. With all those machines combined, he's pulling about 16,000 mega hash per second.
Yeah.
Which is considerable.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. He also uses a pretty wide variety of different GPU cards.
Yes.
Some 1070s, some AMDs here and there. It's all a lot of sapphires.
Yeah.
Very beautiful blue, glowy GPUs.
Yeah. We have some pictures as well from our visit, so we'll be uploading them to our Facebook page. Where you'll be able to see that. And overall, it was a very professional operation with some reasonably priced rigs that he will build and assemble and host as well. So you're not sort of stuck with the big heat generating bulky set of graphics cards. He'll just do all of that on his own for the small fee. So it's definitely a great time. Did you have some other?
I just wanted to say here that he caught the mining or the crypto bug back in November of last year. It was shortly after I got into it, and if I'm not mistaken, you got into it. I got into it about this time last year. So he got started in November, and since then, I forgot how many GPUs he said he had. I know it was in the hundreds of GPUs, somewhere like 400, 450 GPUs.
You mean on site?
Yeah.
I don't remember what he said for the exact number, but I mean, in terms of in that server room, I mean,
there was a considerable amount.
Each one is a 6 or 8 card unit, and he had 20.
One, 2, 3, and he had like the big ones. Yeah. So I mean, there were easily in the hundreds.
Yeah, I would say at least 100 graphics cards there just working. And what's really interesting is that he's able to maintain a very constant temperature, which not so easy to do when you have heat generating cards.
Yeah, because everybody thinks that you can you just pump AC into the room and that'll take care of everything. But you have to pump in the cool air and extract the hot air. So you have to create a full inlet and outlet ventilation system in order to keep the temperature well regulated. But after the conversation that we had with him today, I feel pretty confident in saying that we'll be hearing a lot more from him in the future, and we could potentially even have him on as a guest, and we'll do a stream all about mining 101, and Mr. Dodd will be your professor.
Yes, that's right. So definitely we hope to not just include him here for the occasional interview / discussion. We also want to invite him as well as any of you to the Discord, and we'll have him get set up in there so he can field some of your mining questions. We're going to still work with him on that and get the details figured out. That's something he has time and interest in doing, but definitely we want to bring him in and bring his expertise to bear. So overall, it was a nice chance to get involved in a local business there that's that's doing good work with crypto. So
yeah, we're definitely very appreciative of being given the opportunity to tour his facility. He had no reason to let us do that. We're total strangers to him. The only interaction we've ever had prior to today was over Facebook Messenger. We had never met in person, never spoken on the phone, and he's just a super cool, down-to-earth guy who just happened to get bit by the crypto bug, and mining was his niche. So he ran with it and is moderately successful.
Yeah.
So we'll be hearing more from him in the future.
Absolutely. And just some news items that we can go through here. We had EOS passed Ether briefly in its transactional volume. Basically hundreds of thousands of transactions per second were being created by a spam contract called BlockTalk.
Yeah.
And all it was doing was just sending messages around saying, "We love BM."
We love bowel movements.
It's kind of it's kind of unclear what that stands for. Is that a person? Is that a bitmain? Is that bad manners? What does that BM stand for? We don't know. But it's definitely worth we might never find out. But now, interesting about that. So EOS passed Ethereum in transactional volume, and even at that peak, we're only at 0.2% of their capacity on their network. So big props to EOS. I mean, they were rated as the #1 coin by a Chinese government agency, and they also are wildly popular just throughout Asia in general. big events in China, Korea, Japan with EOS. So definitely, it's interesting. I think EOS is one to keep an eye on, and there's absolutely. There is.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about it.
There's
I'm going to drop the Discord link in our chat here.
Okay.
Before I forget.
I mean, there's a reason why EOS is now a top 5 coin in terms of market cap.
Yes.
Because it has done some big things. Keep an eye on EOS for sure in the future. We also had another good positive technological headline from Tron. So TRX, Tron surpasses Ethereum's 25. It runs at about 25 transactions per second. And Tron demonstrated on their main net, so not on a test net, but on their main net, they surpassed 2,000 transactions per second. The way that they're able to just blow past the speed that Ethereum is offering is due to using these nodes, these centralized, what are called super nodes. And whereas Ethereum is distributed and requires, little bits of confirmation to get sent in from all over the place, these super nodes help keep congestion down on the main net. So, hey, good news for Tron. I know they're very popular in China as well, so, that's good. And honestly, the speed indicates that adoption is possible and scaling is being addressed, but we're going to kind of get into those questions here in just a moment. Up to 90% of corporate blockchain projects probably not going to pan out, according to the Bloomberg researchers that were looking into this. And so, do you feel like that's a reasonable number? Is it an alarming number to you? Is it okay? What are your thoughts when you see that 90% of these corporate projects are just not going to work out?
I mean, you have to attribute where we're at in the crypto space to where we were in the .com era. Not only in the life expectancy of projects and businesses, but in terms of the technology that we're working towards. It's really not surprising to me that 90% of these projects are ultimately going to fail. It's sad that to hear these projects are going to fail, but it's an inevitability. We're still in the Wild West.
Yeah.
So we're still going through the motions here. We're trying to get our sea legs when it comes to crypto, and would I like to see that number much, much lower? Yes, absolutely. Let's get that down to 75%, 50%. But again, that's going to be 5-10 years from now before we can see some sort of stability to where more corporate blockchain projects become more successful and more of them are successful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just like you said, with the .coms, we were having .coms for the most absurd, outrageous thing, and people without a working product, without barely a website, without a warehouse or anything, these people were, propositioning the big investors and investment banks and stuff, saying, oh yeah, we're going to revolutionize, we got .com this, .com that.
And everybody wanted to be on that train.
They did, because it was trendy and that's where the money was. Same thing with crypto. Oh, we got a little Discord link posted in there. Beautiful. But yeah, absolutely, not surprising to me to see all these projects not working out. A little disappointing that as high as 90% of them really just didn't get the involvement. One complaint that I've read that a lot of the companies have is they like the idea, but they are having problems with implementation, and they're also having they're wary of where and how to use these coins. Right. So there are some organizations that have taken it and run with it. There's a number of money transferring operations that are using Ripple right now.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Let's see. This one. And I don't have the Ripple list of companies in front of me, but they're doing quite well. And so with that being said, they are very specialized, right? So Ripple is used for payment transferring, basically to replace the old wire transfer system.
Yeah.
They're doing great stuff with that. Very, very successful. The companies involved using Ripple, they love it. So everything's good there. There's a lot more there's a lot of success as well with the Stellar Lumen project. You know, they are focused in big time on transferring money. So while Ripple is in that space, Stellar Lumens, which is a fork of Ripple, if I'm not mistaken, is also trying to get into that space. So there's definitely some competition there. But the fact is that Stellar Lumens has got some big names working for them. I mean, IBM's blockchain division has decided to use Stellar Lumens as a unit account for their payments. So let's just think about that. Of all the coins they could have picked, they went with Stellar Lumens. Why? Well, they could have gone with, they could have gone with Ripple. They could have gone with some of these others, Monero. Basically, there are other assets there besides XLM that will be on the Stellar network. But for right now, they're using just XLM. So that's going to be, very much a way for them to kind of fund their projects, to explore them. There's a lot of apps coming out. There's a partnership between IBM and Stellar to tokenize global carbon credits, known as Viridium. Stellar X is on the road to becoming the first peer-to-peer decentralized exchange on the Stellar network. So keep in mind, I mentioned IDEX earlier. Had a very, very good experience with that exchange. As a new user, just uploading or connecting my MetaMask wallet and kind of moving funds in there.
Speaking of Stellar X, I actually signed us up to be beta testers for it, so we'll be hopefully a part of the beta testing team there.
Yeah, I would not be opposed to that. I think that Stellar X is interesting because, again, Vitalik, Lord and Savior here, he says, his big issue is with these centralized exchanges. They're good in the sense that they bring stability, they bring security, but we've also seen that, the security isn't always there. There have been hacks.
The fees associated.
Yes, but the main critique is that, in order to get even listed, you have to pay this monstrous listing fee.
Yeah, exorbitant amounts of money.
And so, smaller projects really just don't have capital to get to that.
Yeah, and it's tough to get on to a centralized exchange, but at the same time, there's a compromise to be made there, where in the vein of security, stability, and in the case of Binance, we've seen how dedicated that the CEO CZ, how dedicated he is to security and. Especially with Syscoin hack that happened about a month or so ago. Not only did he stop trading on Syscoin, but he stopped trading across the entire platform.
Yeah.
Which I think was a very, very bold move. But ultimately it was for the better. He wiped out, the team wiped out the API keys that people were using because that's how the hack was initiated. So by wiping out all those API keys and issuing new ones, that essentially rendered the ones that the hackers had access to unusable. And so not only did he do that, but he also rolled back that fraudulent trade.
Right.
And just made it, so that it never even happened.
Yeah, and so definitely in the interest of restoring investor faith and confidence in the exchange, a key moment for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Eventually that trade was, as you said, kind of like pushed aside, and it was a very strange thing. Cisco was trading for like 4 cents, and then it
sold for 96 Bitcoin.
Yeah, one Cisco sold for like almost $1 million. So I mean, it was
something fishy was going on there.
Pretty wild. So anyway.
But on the opposite side of investor confidence, sky mining.
Well, that is definitely a headline that we want to bring to you just to show that it's not all roses over here in the crypto world. Basically, there was a company in Vietnam based out of Ho Chi Minh City that was called Sky Mining, and basically they would sell contracts, and they would market themselves as an investment group here in crypto. And just very recently, the CEO, don't know his name, but CEO decided to just off and abscond with all of the $35 million in assets that had been given. So not just leave the company, not just borrow a golden parachute, if you will, on his way out. But he literally took the whole investment portfolio with him, and he cited medical reasons for needing to go. Why do you need all that money for medical reasons?
I don't know of any medical procedure that's going to cost $35 million. And even if that was the case, why is he running off with investor money to pursue said medical procedure?
Yeah.
But, these things happen all the time. Call them exit scams.
Yeah.
Basically where, the CEO or, the developing team, they literally just take the money and run, and they just disappear into the ether, pun intended. And that's just kind of where we're at in the crypto space. I mentioned earlier, we're still in the Wild West.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of stuff that happens. So with that being said, hopefully, his departure from the country was for legitimate reasons, but I still do think that there are a lot of questions that he needs to answer as to, especially with why he ran off with $35 million of investor money with no real disclosure or explanation to that.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very sketchy. I've always been sketchy about cloud mining contracts anyway, because you have no direct control over it.
Right.
And I'm a control freak, so that just wouldn't work for me. So if you do, as an investor, choose to pursue a cloud mining contract, just make sure you cover all your bases, do all your homework on the company, find out who the team members are, look them up on LinkedIn, do your homework on them, and if, Magic 8 Ball says yes, then, go for it. If your gut tells you yeah, trust your gut, but, if something seems fishy, definitely let everybody know in the community. That way everybody's not getting roped into some shitcoin scam like BitConnect.
Right.
But yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, it's not all doom and gloom here, as we do have a few more just positive adoption / implementation headlines here. The largest movie theater in Thailand actually just announced that it will be accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, probably Ether, possibly some of the other top 10, using a Swiss fintech, so financial technology developer, RapidsPay. And so that's big. I mean, if you think the average citizen, maybe 1% or 5% of the people are going to go in there and just for the novelty, just pay with crypto.
Sure.
That's big. That's adoption right there. So, anytime that happens, we love to report
love
about
to hear
it.
about it.
And Litecoin has been fairly quiet since the whole LitePay thing kind of fell off the map. But they recently announced a partnership with HTC. The HTC Exodus blockchain phone will include native support for Litecoin. Again, of all the coins to pick, Litecoin seems kind of a random one. But hey, Litecoin does use I'm not sure if it's its own Lightning Network or just a Lightning Network that they sort of have implemented, but it's definitely, got the Lightning Network on there, which makes for extremely fast transactions. Basically it uses a peer-to-peer system that do micropayments instead of trying to do just one transaction at a time along the whole chain, getting the confirmations along the way and all of that. And actually the Lightning Network, we saw earlier in
was it yesterday or the day before?
I think we were transferring basically Bitcoin and Ether, and I said, let's time it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it was the same. It was exactly the same amount of time.
It was impressive.
Bitcoin has made big strides using the Lightning Network to cut down on the transaction time and confirmation time and that kind of thing. So,
now, would you say that the Lightning Network has improved the overall cost of the transaction, or has it stayed relatively the same?
I mean, the fees were low, to pay the miners because really the network wasn't very congested at the time. So I would say the fees are very low.
Okay.
They're not as low as some of these other coins, though. I would say that the fees on like XLM, some of these other ones, they those fees are basically nothing. Even Bitcoin Cash, interestingly, has a bit lighter fees. And we saw that just recently. There was a tweet from Roger Ver and team basically saying, Bitcoin Cash does have a use case. It does have a niche. And the niche is, basically cash transfer. They want to be the cash transfer coin. And, because that's kind of where the money is. That's, But Bitcoin Cash actually had over 3 times the transactions recorded on the network, and it only had the fees of like a fraction, a fifth of a penny. So, really basically no fee there whatsoever.
And that is some great transactional viability there.
Yeah.
I know I talk mad shit about, Bitcoin trash and Roger Ver, the crown prince of, shitcoin cash.
Yeah.
But, I poke fun, but, Bitcoin Cash as a transactional alternative to Bitcoin, super viable.
Yeah.
In terms of how fast it is compared to Bitcoin itself. It's a lot faster. It's a lot cheaper to move around.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to stand in line at Starbucks and wait for 30 minutes for confirmations. That would just be a disaster.
No one would use it.
Yeah.
But right now the direction is faster payments.
Yeah. So what good is it if you can't spend it? You can't spend it when you want to spend it.
People are putting their cards directly on the reader, or their phone directly on the reader, not pulling out the cards anymore. If Bitcoin or BCH, Bitcoin Cash, they want to be on the same level, they got to be at least as fast.
Yeah. They're definitely poised for some big, great things in terms of everyday utility.
Right.
To me, Bitcoin was never on that plane of everyday utility because of how congested the network was, the cost of the fees. And
that was before Lightning Network, that is helping a lot by kind of distributing some of that work. And basically, the Lightning Network sits above the blockchain and helps route some of that traffic more quickly. And again, instead of having to just run down the whole chain and get the confirmation from the miner. So
yeah, but I think Bitcoin's price, or Bitcoin Cash's price point, makes it a much stronger of a contender for everyday utility than Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash being an excellent store of long-term wealth, and Bitcoin Cash being your everyday currency. And I think that Bitcoin Cash is scaled better for everyday use as opposed to Bitcoin itself. Because it is a little bit smaller. What is it, roughly about a tenth of the value of Bitcoin
right now? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's better. Why would you go to McDonald's and buy a double cheeseburger with a $100 bill when you could just spend 10 and just handle it that way? So that way you're not left over with bags of change and stuff like that. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah. Truthfully, It has its role. It is processing faster and more cheaply than Bitcoin right now, so they are winning.
They're cruising along.
That rush. We did mention in a previous stream about how there was going to be an upcoming ETF ruling. We saw that really we didn't get the solid announcement that we wanted to of a yes, but you don't think that's a bad thing?
No. So, okay. So for those who don't know, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund. That is excuse me. It's a way for institutional investors to sort of bring their money into the picture, and ultimately help drive the price of Bitcoin up.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah.
Most notably, one of the ETFs that was presented was that of the Winklevoss twins. And they were the guys that had a pretty decent hand in helping push Facebook back in the day.
Right.
But they're no longer, part of that team anymore, and they've been sort of exploring blockchain tech ever since. So their ETF, this was actually the second time that it was overturned. But with that being said, that isn't necessarily a bad thing to me. The two primary reasons I want to touch on as to why it's not a bad thing. A, the SEC is concerned about Bitcoin's susceptibility to market manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
As we've seen in the past, there have been, Mt. Gox, whale dumps, just wiping the order books clean, things of that nature. So what that says to me is that the SEC has the general public and the general crypto investors' best interests at heart, because they don't want to see that kind of market manipulation take place and affect its investors. And so they are allowing a revision to the ETF proposal.
Okay.
So hopefully by then, the team can propose new ways of preventing that sort of market manipulation and making it a viable ETF. Point two is the SEC is concerned about the overall U.S. volume that takes place, within our borders.
Right.
And some numbers to go along with that. 75% of all crypto transactions occur overseas.
I thought it was even higher than that.
But here's where it gets better. And then only 5% of that 75% takes place on U.S. exchanges.
Oh, yeah.
So just think about how low the U.S. volume is. So with volume that low, is it really viable to present an ETF that isn't going to have mainland volume? And again, they're allowing the proposals to be revisited at a later date. September, I believe, will be the next sort of re-proposal.
Yeah. I did read that they said that they have entertained ETFs without major U.S. presence or investment in the past.
They have.
So it would not be completely out of line with precedent to approve something like this.
Right.
But I agree that I think taking a little extra time to evaluate the scene, give it a little bit more time to kind of shore up some of the maybe security or confidence issues there, and to figure out the venue. Are you going to be on a U.S. exchange? Are you going to trade directly on Wall Street with the fund available that people can go into? What's the vehicle there? Work all that out and get with the various regulatory agencies. But just to put this into perspective, and this is kind of the crypto world, Hail Mary here, but if ETFs do go through and institutional investors do get online, then we can expect to last year's pump to be just a drop in the bucket compared to what this could be.
With institutional money being dumped in, at what could potentially be quite a high rate, we could see, substantial growth. Some of these influencers making calls, saying 25K by the end of Q4 2018, or it could be 50,000 Q4 2018. Who knows, really? Because an ETF would be a total game changer in terms of being reflected in price. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen next month at the next ETF discussion. There is some debate as to whether or not the ETF will be approved. And then, there's some camps that'll say the ETF will be, or with enough revision and enough time, will be approved at some point next year, which is totally fine. That gives these people giving the proposals, it gives them a lot of time to sort of work on, developing ways to counter market manipulation. Yeah. And, the crypto community, they make shit happen. So, I think we could see a potential influx of volume on U.S. exchanges to make that ETF viable.
Yeah.
In the future. So, crypto folks out there, U.S. exchanges, let's get that ETF rolling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know Bittrex isn't the best exchange out there, but it is a U.S.-based exchange in Seattle. So everybody pitch in, do your part, throw around a few sats on there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to say as well. I think that the more people that are getting into the space, you know, day trading, like we've kind of talked about a little bit, or just sort of using Bitcoin as an investment vehicle, without day trading, really, as long as you are ahead of the pump and not buying in at the peak, you'll do well.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, rip anyone who
bought in
at 19,000. I was just looking here. It went from 19,000 down to like 15,000 in a matter of days.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a bad time. I mean, if you were an options trader at that time,
oh yeah,
that volatility is money.
Yeah, you're off in Bora Bora while I'm sitting here all Pora.
All right. Well, we kind of talked about that ETF ruling. Did you want to discuss a little bit about Vitalik Buterin?
Okay. So a video recently surfaced of Vitalik Buterin and Craig Wright. If I'm not mistaken, Craig Wright was a part of a panel that was up on stage answering some questions about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and what have you. Now, for those of you who don't know who Craig Wright is, there is some speculation as to whether Craig Wright is Satoshi, the developer of Bitcoin. Personally, I don't think so. It's just sort of like a meme title, I guess. But Vitalik Buterin was asking some questions, and he apparently did not like some of the answers that Craig was giving.
Right.
You know, in terms of some pretty technical stuff that I don't understand, like gamma rates, a number that exists between 1 and 0, which denotes the collusion of miners, which was actually what Craig Wright was talking about, the selfish miner theory.
Right.
But like I said, Vitalik Buterin didn't like the answers that he was giving, whether the answers were false or just misinformation, whether intended or not. But Vitalik Buterin, being the mad genius that he is, stood amongst this crowd and pointed up at Craig Martin and said, "Why is this fraud allowed to speak at this conference?" Which that's a pretty hefty shot coming from someone in the crypto space, because Vitalik Buterin carries a lot of weight, and for him to call you a fraud, it could be pretty potentially damaging to someone's reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a strong statement for sure. Vitalik has strong opinions. We talked about his opinions on decentralized or centralized exchanges. And he also has some tough questions that he's posed to the crypto community. And one of those questions is what to do about mining. So right now, we have an interesting graphic here. So at 53%, Bitmain and its affiliated pools now own 53% of the market. So we're going to look here, and this is the chart showing kind of where the hash power for BTC is coming from. And the worry is that if you own more than 50% of the network's mining hash power, then you can actually kind of take over the mine and kind of guide that back to you. But it's concerning.
It's essentially created an oligarchy.
Yes, but I think that the response back to that was fairly good. They said that the hash rate could move away from them at any time. We saw today when we went and met with Thomas Dodd over at at Dodd Industries how Antpool, very powerful software, very easy to use, and so you don't have to use AMP pool. You could go slush pool. You could go to btc.com.
Nice hash.
Nice hash. There's a lot of
there's all sorts.
Interesting that nice hash isn't even on here. I wonder if it falls under one of these other ones. But essentially, with these with the hash power being where it is, I mean, ultimately, I think that these big ones are being chosen for convenience and features and stability.
Yeah.
It's just not some.
There's not some big, nefarious scheme.
Yeah.
There's no ulterior motive there.
And just because people are using AMP pool, for example, it doesn't mean that they control that hash. People are just sort of sending their hash, if I understand correctly.
Like these companies, that are being denoted here on this graphic, they don't actually own the hashing power that's being lent to the system. So if something fishy was going on with, let's say, AMP pool, what's keeping all of these miners from saying, okay, screw you guys, I'm going to go take my hash power somewhere else?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could definitely happen, as, stated by Jihan Wu here.
Yeah.
Almost all the hash rate can move from any pool. It's definitely possible. But like you said, in terms of convenience, usability, I think some people may have just gravitated towards some of those bigger pools and found them easier to use. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, so it's more like yes, it's a vulnerability. It could potentially be abused if there was enough coordination there. So anyway, thank you so much for the follow.
Hey, Commander Root.
Yeah.
Thanks for the follow. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, every follow helps, so we do appreciate that. So kind of Vitalik had these great questions of the community. We don't have time to jump into all of them today, but
take a shallow dive on each of them.
Yeah, but we can take a look here at the next one. He in addition to the mining issues that he brought up, really the question is, with scalability, how can we go from where we are now in terms of apps or dApps, distributed applications? How can we go from the dApps we have now to the iOS, level, which they have far more apps that are used far more frequently and all that.
Yep.
And it has to do with scalability. So if we look at dApp development, we see there really aren't that many that many dApps. I mean, IDEX as an exchange is a dApp that runs off of the Ethereum network, which is pretty nifty. So that's one of the top performing dApps. We have some other ones now. FOMO 3D, I have heard that it's a game, and it's really kind of like a fun little thing. Yeah, it's like a meme thing. There really aren't that many strong dApps out there, and I think part of the reason is there's a scalability issue. Ethereum's working on sharding, so we talked about how they are planning on using sharding, which is kind of distributed processing along their network, and that allows for side chains that are specific to a specific app, so then you can kind of, you could have a game of unlimited size, and it wouldn't be bogging down the network because it has its own side chain.
Right.
Really, there's just a big question right now. Until we get to those technological developments, we really can't scale up.
Because, I mean, and to put things in perspective, I want to say there's only about 1,400 dApps out there, was it?
Let's find out.
I remember seeing something about it somewhere, but there was a very, very low number of these decentralized and distributed apps. I want to say it was in the ballpark of about 1,500. I could be wrong. I'll double check that.
I mean, the 24-hour usage statistics. There's 3,700 users and just 12,000 transactions. Okay. There can't be that many. Apps out there.
Put that up against iOS. The App Store, or the Google Play Store, where there are millions of apps and potentially billions of users.
Yeah.
So I think we still have a long way to go in terms of improving the network so that these dApps can become more reliable and quick along the network.
Yeah.
But hey, we're still very much in the beginning of the .com era,
Right.
You know, we're still
Early development.
we're still chugging along. So, you know, and by 2020, you know, who knows how many there could be.
Yeah.
Once these scalability issues are overcome, then
Yeah. No, that's a big one.
we
right
have a
there.
lot of time. We have a lot of room to run.
And we heard from the Ethereum Foundation panel just a couple weeks ago here on our stream that they were basically saying, you know, these are rollouts looking for within the next year. They want to get they want to get proof of stake. They want to work on some of those other issues, the sharding, alongside Casper. But I mean, there are some some developments coming down the pipeline for sure. Just to put things in perspective, though, the number of apps is too small to really have any kind of measurable impact compared to some of these other stores. Like you said, millions, literally 3.8 million Android apps available in the Play Store. 2 million apps available in Apple Store. So there's definitely some room for growth in the DApp area. Another question he has, we kind of alluded to, is about security. We have account hacks, we have all these other things. Now there was a very interesting hack that I would not have even thought of, but a hack that targets your clipboard. And so you would go to copy your wallet address. Let's say you were sending yourself some Bitcoin or Ether, and you go to copy, and the hack is actually in your clipboard on your computer.
Yeah.
So when you copy the image, it just modifies it, and when you paste it, it spits back out the modified wallet address.
A lot of times people don't even realize what's happened.
Yeah.
Because, they see their wallet address over and over and over again. It just becomes, you get used to seeing it. Mm-hmm. And it just becomes, a monotonous behavior to the point where you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You just assume that you're copying and pasting your wallet address when in fact you are copying and pasting, or you're copying your address but pasting someone totally different.
That's right. Yep. So about 5% of all Bitcoin ever were hacked in the 2013 Silk Road hack, the 2014 Mt. Gox hack, Cryptsy, and Midpal hacks, the 2015 Bitstamp and Beater hacks, as well as the Bitfinance hacks. I mean, all in all, big hacks.
Yeah.
Across the years, each year you have a big one, right? Maybe more.
Yeah.
About 5% of all Bitcoin just stolen, and I feel like that's really kind of unacceptable. Yeah.
Yeah. 5%, in the grand scheme of things, is not a whole lot, but it's 5% too much.
Now, Buterin suggests that, the problem is that the money's stored in a centralized spot. It's on a centralized exchange. It has account security issues. Malware phishing can target individuals, or you can just DDoS the whole website. You can kind of do different things there. Now, with a decentralized exchange, again, we talked about IDEX just a little while ago, as well as the Stellar X one that's being rolled out by the Stellar Lumens network. Those decentralized platforms have a lot more security built in. I mean, to use them, you don't create an account, which at first for me was very strange. I was looking for the account creation button. How do I, create my account so I can get started, get my wallet in there.
Start the KYC, your customer procedure.
Yeah, it's like where's my wallet address, But the reality is that, with a decentralized exchange, you are your own, you are
the gatekeeper.
Entity, and you load your own wallet, and then what's interesting is you load your wallet in there, and then so, for example, I use MetaMask as my wallet, so I loaded my MetaMask info, and there's another step where you have to transfer your funds from that wallet to the exchange, the decentralized exchange. Only people who connected their wallets and sent the money from the wallets, basically uploaded those coins from their wallet onto the exchange, are able to trade. And there are trading limitations and a moderate amount of fees there, of course, to help keep the product working. But overall, very fast, very easy, very secure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now I think that that these DEXs or decentralized exchanges, they're awesome and they're really good to have. They're super secure. The only problem that I really have with them, and it's just sort of like a nitpicky aesthetic thing for me, is that they are just super boring to look at.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Like they're very featureless. You know, it's very plain and simple. You know, there's not a whole lot going on. Like you have your order book, you have your transaction history, and then your chart. And that's pretty much it, really. But on Binance, like you have so much stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff that you can work with.
True. I mean, visually, you know, aesthetics definitely there for the centralized exchange. They have a lot more money. They have a lot more developers.
Sure. And in time, you know, those improvements will be made as, you know, they start to, you know, make a profit on these fees and stuff. But other than that, I have no big problems with them. That's the step forward into to full decentralization. Yeah, 1,700 apps. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So right now, Vitalik is saying that dApps are too slow to use.
Yes,
the current speed of blockchain tech is not capable of competing with centralized competitors such as Uber. Uber facilitates over 5 million rides every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Facebook is able to process 510,000 comments, update almost 300,000 statuses, and upload 136,000 photos every minute. The 1,200 transactions per minute that the Ethereum network currently executes pales in comparison to the staggering speed of centralized, you know, setups like in terms of Facebook or, you know, some of the others. And, you know, what could help, we talked about how, you know, we talked about sharding, we talked about, you know, Ether 2.0. You know, so we talked a little bit about how Ether's roadmap was coming up. They were looking at, you know, sharding and proof of stake. Mm-hmm. However, it looks like based on the needs of the dApp community, the needs to have that higher speed, they're looking at implementing sharding first.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's pretty exciting. I would say that overall, you know, these are not easy questions to answer.
No.
But you know, essentially with some technological development, some trial and error, a little bit of luck, a little bit of market faith, you know, we could start to see an increase in the use of dApps, better performance out of those, and then that will kind of help drive it. Because really, if you think back to the early days of the App Store, there really wasn't anything good in there anyway.
No.
You know, and then it just developed over time. You got major developers, you got indie developers, you got the third party, you got open source, you know, you got everyone just jumping in the mix, and that's where you get these good apps, you know, like Words with Friends, you know, that kind of, you know, stuff like that.
True story, though.
But anyway, so, you know, we do want to remind everyone that we are actually active on Twitter. You can follow us at Real BlockTalk, so I'll give you a quick preview of our Twitter page here.
Yes.
And we only have 65 followers, so please, y'all, jump on board, follow that Twitter, and you will get all of our updates here. Moves, international moves, big news items, you name it.
Margaritas.
Margaritas, essentially, you know, that's key. That is key to any successful crypto venture.
You gotta relax.
You know, you gotta relax somehow. So check us out on Twitter. We also have our Facebook available. God, isn't that Brave browser just beautiful?
It is, man.
You know, so we also have our Facebook page here, and you can always get on our Facebook page and check it out. We do have all of our broadcast VODs, previous videos will be available there.
Yep.
So right after this broadcast, I'll be uploading that to our Facebook. You can also get in touch with us on YouTube, and of course, always check us out for the old VODs here on Twitch, should you be listening in or at a later time.
Yep, the VODs only live on Twitch for 14 days, which is why we export them out to YouTube and Facebook, where they'll live indefinitely. Until we take them down, or for some crazy reason we violate the terms of service and they yank them down. But so that's where all the VODs will live, and feel free to watch them. Just you don't even have to watch them. Just listen in as like a like almost like a podcast.
Yep, absolutely. So, but yeah, I mean I'm glad that we got a chance to get some of the big moves that were happening in the industry and kind of get in touch with local business as well. We're very active in our Discord as well. You can get the link right there in our chat. We'll also be posting that relatively often to our various social media platforms. And again, if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about or anything that comes up in your crypto world, throw it our way. We'll give you our 2 cents on it.
Yeah, we'll try to point you in the best direction we can. which is, we have to say this on every stream. We are not accredited investors. Anything that we say here is not to be taken as trading advice. This is simply our points of view and the methods that we use.
Yeah.
So before venturing out into making any sort of investment decision, please DYOR, do your own research. We would love to give you some input on the legitimacy and efficacy of a product or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, that's not to be taken as trading advice and simply our opinions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that pretty much covers all of the different topics that we had scheduled for anything. Did you have anything you wanted to throw in?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I know I say it at the end of every stream, but thank you so much for tuning in. If you find it in your hearts to donate, we are more than appreciative of any donations, whether it's fiat, crypto, anything. We use everything that comes in to develop our stream, so that we can give you higher quality content and higher quality streams. So if you do find it in your heart, thank you so much. We love you all, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to echo that, the money that we got, we can't actually accept crypto. So if you are getting into crypto, you want to toss us a little extra Satoshis or some Ethereum, we're down. We will take that and we'll help you grow it. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for episode 4, a new FOMO. Don't always FOMO in, but it's hard to resist sometimes, as we've seen.
It is. The psychology is real. The FOMO is real.
It is. Well, thanks again for joining us here on our stream. We're going to be signing out here. But again, any questions, send them to our Twitter, drop it in chat, or just
come find us in Discord.
And exactly.
And hang out with us.
That's right. Well, from us here at BlockTalk, again, I'm Crypto Nikolai, and this is Crypto Jay. And we are excited to conclude our stream here and invite you to future chat. So have a great rest of the day.
Yep.
Happy trading, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.